Welcome to Scrollin', episode 126. I'm Ket. Joining me, of course, Davey Starjumper.
Happy to be here. 126.
126? Is that a significant number in any way?
No, I was trying to think of something to make it so, but it's a big number. You know,
it's up there.
It's not really a round number, though. 125. The last one was, that was a good one. We should have said something.
We didn't. We should have. Dang it.
Dang, we should have said something on that one. 125. You got something. 126.
Yeah, we don't. We can't do anything till 150 now.
Whose birthday's on January 26th? That's shout out to those birthdays.
The January 26th people. You guys. You're doing the thing every day, day in, day out.
This one's for you.
This episode goes out to those January 20s. I hope there's not some horrible, historical thing that happened January 26th.
Oh gosh, not to that. If there is that, it's not that. It's to those people that have a birthday.
I feel like I'm thinking of
good people that have those birthdays.
Excellent people, not to be confused with the January 6th people. Different crowd.
Totally different
Very
people.
Different. I mean, so there might be some overlap, but
sure. January.
We need to get off of this topic as soon as possible.
January birthday crowd. Yeah.
We are talking about the Elder Scrolls Online and public test server for the upcoming Gold Road chapter. It's it's still going on. Weeks 4 and 5. We're in week 5, I think, right now, which is the final week of testing, final week of PTS. So I think this patch is actually maybe 3 weeks away or 2.5 weeks away. June 3rd for PC, I believe.
Pretty wild. Wild to think about.
There's really not much to get into patch notes wise. I mean, there are a lot of patch notes, but it's all for stuff that we haven't put our hands on yet. They did one significant thing is they I guess the scribing system was really grindy, according to a lot of people, and it was going to be a giant pain to unlock all the stuff on all your characters. So one thing that they have done in the last couple of weeks is to ease that up quite a bit. And from what I kind of glossed over with a little write-up they made about it, it seems like it's going to be a much less of a pain than what it was going to be.
That's great to hear. That's great news.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be a thing where you do there's one grind that is kind of a pain, but then after that, your other characters will have a much easier time.
Okay, I can handle that. Is it? And surely it's shared among. Is it going to be specific to characters? I really hadn't thought about that till now.
Well, so I think if I could be mistaken, but I think it's all the stuff is locked behind these quests, and that's where the grind comes from. You have to do these quests and then turn that in to get one of the scripts. And I think it's got RNG, which script you get, and then you do another quest.
So I'll be doing all of them. Sure. Got it.
But I believe scrollingpodcast@gmail.com. Let me know if I'm incorrect. Should have researched this, do a podcast here. But I believe once you've done the quest and you've unlocked it on one character, then then on your other characters, you can just purchase it from a vendor for gold.
Okay. So it's not quite like a Sigic then.
I think it's kind of like achievement furnishings. One character gets the achievement and that unlocks it and makes it available for them to purchase, and then you can purchase that on any character after that.
Perfect. Love that. Yeah. Love that.
So I think that's all. And then a lot of just scribing balance adjustments, adjusting scripts and, costs and different things like that. A big list of things. I think they nerfed that thing that consumes soul gems and does oblivion damage. I think they made it damage over time. So it's less bursty and it's less damage. Still going to be really good though. So we'll see on that. I don't really have a ton of details. I don't really like to talk a lot about stuff that we haven't actually tried out yet. We'll see it when it gets here, and we'll dig into it then. So I thought we'd talk about just a little bit about maybe some plans that we have for scribing. I've been looking at it a lot and kind of looking at ways that my characters can be improved, and there's actually quite a bit of opportunities here just with this one wield soul ability. That's the one and only one that I'm really focused on, because it's not it doesn't make me do a backflip or lock me into some weird animation, or it's just a thing that I cast, you know what I mean? And it does what I want it to do.
Is that the single target one or the burst one?
That's the single target
Okay.
one. The soul magic long range single target ability.
Okay.
And basically this is the ability that has all the common major buffs and debuffs. Like this is the ability that you're going to use if you're thinking like, man, if only my character had a source of major breach, or only if I had an easy access to major prophecy or whatever. This will be most likely the ability you reach to get that in there.
Is this also the one that allows you can get major expedition with it too?
I think so. I think any like major buffs or debuffs, this is like maybe one of the only grimoires that is available to.
That makes sense, because I dove through and was kind of looking around. I know you can get major expedition somehow, but I couldn't figure out the right path to get it. So I bet it is this one. If it fits that way for those other buffs, it would make sense.
If you Google search ESO scribing and go to the ESO hub page of it, they actually have it where like you can click on the specific script you're interested in, and it'll show the grimoires that it's available to, and it'll tell if it's like the major or minor version of that.
Very nice. That's a good resource.
So yeah, I have a few plans that I'm planning to do right away as soon as we have access to scribing, and as soon as I have the grimoires and the scripts that I need. So I'll just kind of go through these things that I'm planning to do here. So for old Betsy, number 1, she'll be the first one I do anything for. So she's my stamina Templar. I'm going to use this wield soul ability and give her a damage over time that applies major breach plus a snare. That'll probably replace solar barrage on her build. Currently, she does not have a source of major breach. Her own source, she basically just assumes that somebody else in the battleground is going to be applying that, which very likely they are. But it's always been kind of a pain point. Like, man, I really wish I had my own source of major breach, but I don't want to use caltrops. I don't want to use a destro staff, so I just do without. So that'll be nice.
Yeah.
For Necromancer, my Stam Crow, right now he uses Elemental Susceptibility and Flame Clench. I'm essentially going to combine those together. I'm going to make an ability that gives me a long-range stun and applies Major Breach. Plus, I think I'll probably give it a dot as well. So that's going to open up a bar slot. I'll probably put Necrotic Potency or some kind of utility in that spot. It's also going to simplify my combo. That'll be really nice.
Very nice.
For my other Necromancer, I think this is going to be really awesome. I'm going to condense the armor buff and the class burst heal into one ability. I'm going to craft an ability that is my burst heal that also applies major resolve. Because a Necromancer's armor buff doesn't really do anything special. It just kind of gives you that armor buff. And your burst heal actively defiles you.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So you're kind of solving a problem there and opening up a bar slot. That's pretty nice.
That's really nice. I didn't think about that, but I bet that's going to be really popular on a Necromancer. That's a nice little combo right there.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'll probably end up putting Race Against Time in that slot or something like that. Some kind of utility. Sorcerer, I'll do a range stun that gives me my major crit buff, Major Prophecy. That'll take the place of Camo Hunter, and that's really nice. I already get Major Breach from using Crushing Weapon as my spammable, so that just sort of completes the puzzle. And Sorks used to have Flame Clench that they could use as a long-range stun, but they shortened the range on that a long time ago, and so really Sorks have just been relying on Streak for their CC, which is great, but like a major advantage of a Sorcerer is that they can play from far away, so if you're streaking into someone, you're removing that advantage. So having a stun that you can use from far away is going to be pretty nice for Sorcerers, which is good. They need some help.
Yeah.
And then Nightblade, I'm basically going to do the same thing as my Stam Crow, a range stun with Major Breach applied. I think a lot of people will probably do that. That's just going to be so nice to stun someone and also give them Major Breach from full 28 meters away. It's going to work in so many combos very, very nicely.
Going to be a lot more breach out there.
Yep, getting too big for your breaches.
Oh, there's an episode title right there.
Yeah, that's basically my plans. The AoE soul magic ability is called Soul Burst, and that's basically the one that gives you easy access to all the minor buffs and debuffs. So basically all the major stuff that you get with Wield Soul, you get the minor versions of those with Soul Burst. I don't really have any immediate plans for that, but easy access to Minor Expedition is an obvious one, I think, that will be very interesting. Those are my plans. Anything for you, Davius?
You know me. I'm going to come at this a little bit wackier.
Right,
Yours
right.
is very makes sense. Going to be really effective. I more played around this on the wacky side. So I think the
I'd
first
expect
one
nothing less.
exactly. I think the first one I'm going to do is on the Guarplar. You know, we talked about this a little bit. The Guarplar
Yes.
does not do damage. 0 damage, just heals. 1 bar heal Magplar build. And so having trample where a Guar is running out onto the field is just perfect for the thematic of the Guarplar.
It's
And
perfect.
so there is a way to do the trample where it doesn't do damage. You do the trauma, which is heal absorption. So you throw the Guar
Nice.
out there, it does heal absorption on your enemies. And then I think I'm going to do, there's like a thief swiftness. And so that actually, where the Guar runs, your team gets 15% speed increase where it goes, which is nice.
Oh, nice.
And then a minor expedition buff for myself. So,
So that's 15% on top of minor
yeah,
expedition.
just
That's
for me,
nice.
just for me, but
Yeah,
still
but
really
still.
nice to get that speed amount on a healer. And, you know, we'll see what the heal absorption, I don't know what the numbers are going to be on that, but I could see that being pretty beneficial for a healer to throw that out there
totally.
for the team. So I think that's how I'm going to get the Guar running out there for the Guarplar. I think it's going to be pretty good.
That's just got to happen. Mandatory.
Yeah, has to happen. Now, the other one that I'm looking at, and I don't really have a specific build for this, it's more of just the idea of it. It potentially may end up on Lord of Nords. We'll see about that because he's pretty set in his current setup, but I could see where it could make sense. And this is what where it's the shield throw, where you do the shield. What's it? I think it's called
Shield throw.
Yeah, just shield throw.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought I had a fancier name than that, but it's the shield throw, and then I would do the multi-target, so it hits up to 3 targets, and then you can make it do bash damage. And so with that shield throw hitting 3 targets, doing bash damage, I would pair that with Drake's Rush. So basically, every time you're doing this, you're getting that major heroism. And then I think I'd probably do for the buff on it. You can pair major evasion on it. So I think I'd throw major evasion on it. And the reason I say this may end up on Lord of Nords is that right now he's using the DK Infinite Archive set to get major heroism. But this basically would pretty much do the same thing. It would actually give him range, and it would free up potentially free up a bar slot. I don't know. I haven't really fully tested that out to see if the bar would make sense. I probably need to look at that closer. But I do like the idea of just I will put this on at least one sort of build where you're having a ranged basically, AoE that's activating Drake's Rush every time you're throwing this shield and getting major evasion. I can see that being pretty good.
Yeah, that's always a turn off to me when I look at Drakes. Is like, well, I got to bash someone, so I got to like run up to them and be close enough to bash them. But that's like, you can activate it from range. That's really nice.
Yep, range, and that's the other part to it. Why it may potentially end up on Lord of Nords is it's not just major heroism for him anymore. It would be team major heroism.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, man, that might really be worth looking into, or at least just for like when you're grouping up with people, swap to that setup.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll definitely go down that path to see what that looks like. And then the last one that I was looking at, and again, I don't really have a specific build on this. It was more of just playing around with an ability, but was going back to this trample ability. There's an option with this ability that I think potentially is going to be really popular, and it's this Dispel. I don't know if you've looked at this. It deals physical damage, so you throw the mount out there, and it does physical damage, and it removes up to 1 damage shield ability from whoever it hits.
Hey, that might be something people need to look into here pretty soon.
It's an AoE damage remove shield from everybody it hits. Like, I could see that being really popular. And then I just kind of playing around with the ability. I think I'd pair. It's called Warrior's Opportunity, and it's each enemy you hit increases the damage by 5%. And you can it stacks up to 20 times, which
oh boy,
yeah, it just seems crazy.
So 100%,
yeah.
Which in a battleground you're not going to reach that, but still it'll be a lot.
Yeah, and so I just if you hit 5 people, you're 25% damage increase on this thing. Once again, I don't really know numbers. We haven't been able to play around with it enough for that, but I could see that being pretty good. And then I paired on
Seems
minor.
Very good, actually, dude. I mean, like
That's
you
what
have
I'm
someone
thinking.
in the group with like, I mean, the set we hate, but Rush of Agony. You pull everyone in, then send that dude charging at them all. Put that on everybody. That's gonna be spicy.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing is that physical damage, remove damage shields off of them. The damage stacks for everybody it's hit, and then I paired minor mangle with it, which is basically takes 10% health off of everybody it hits, and so I just kind of like that pairing with you're forcing a damage shield off of them, and you're lowering their max health. I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. Yeah, that grimoire, the mount one, I think has a lot of interesting, cool stuff because that's a really long cast time. So I feel like they really tried to put some cool stuff in there to make it worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one I'm really excited about is there's a lot of cleansing options with the scribing. And I think that's actually pretty huge for DKs. DKs really struggle to have a cleanse. And so for a DK to be able to get one of these abilities and get a cleanse on like a built-in cleanse to an ability that has some other options as well, I could see that being really beneficial for DKs.
Yeah, especially if you can craft it in such a way that kind of fills the function of an ability you're already using.
100%. I will probably try to find a way to get a cleanse on Lord of Nords for sure, just because that is definitely a weak spot of his. But yeah, I would just say overall, I think it's going to be really fun. I think it's going to be really fun just to dive into these and kind of figure them out. I think it's going to be really fun just to see everybody else's ideas as they go in. And kind of like what you talked about on your abilities, it's just going to be such a good option to fill all the holes of buffs, debuffs that you really want on a build. It's just kind of one more layer to kind of fit all of those missing pieces onto a build. This is probably going to be a Necro buff more than anything.
Major Necro buff, definitely.
Without actually touching Necros. So, but I think I'm pretty excited just to get in there and kind of test out the options and see what we can do.
Yeah, I'm honestly the most excited for my Necromancers. I think they're going to be in such better shape. And I actually have a good Necro build that I've been playing with a lot lately that I'll talk about later. But he'll be even better here pretty soon.
Nice. Very nice.
So, all right, let's talk about some PvP, shall we?
Let's do it.
So, number one thing, Davis Starjumper, when you load into a battleground and start getting into a fight, what's the first thing you notice?
Glass shattering. That's what I noticed first.
Is the sound of a sledgehammer being thrown through a bathroom window?
Yes. I actually have been in restaurants eating and they drop dishes in the back and I immediately have BG PTSD. It follows me. It's the new It set, right? Like it's safe to say this is the new It set. This is the new popular one. Everybody's grabbing it. Everybody's using it.
It's the big proc set. It's from one of those new dungeons that we got with the last update. Every Nightblade ganker is using it. It's the new hotness. It hits super hard. It's really loud. It's AoE. It applies minor breach to everyone that it hits. Very easy to proc.
The sound effect makes it a slightly extra annoying.
Oh, I mean, it's so jarring, it's like it sends you into a panic, and your health bar is completely gone and there's this loud noise that just happened. You're like, what just happened? Oh my God. I'm planning to farm it, actually. I'm going to put it on my...
Following this up with, we both are actually planning to farm it. We're both planning on getting a set of our own.
Yeah, I want to put it on my Arcanist and pair it up with Azure Blight. I think that'll be really, really good. Especially in pre-mades, but that's the plan. But yeah, Tarnished Nightmare, that is kind of the defining feature of PvP these days. I generally advise ranged builds. If you're trying to jump into Battlegrounds and have a good time, ranged builds are probably going to enable that more than anything, just because there's a lot of other ranged builds out there, and so it's just tough being melee with 6 sorcerers gunning you down. Plus there's a lot of dots and status effects often coming from those ranged sorcerers. So it's kind of a tough life for a melee build right now. Unless you're a Warden or an Arcanist and maybe a Templar, they can hang pretty good. If you're really wanting to brawl and get up in the mix of things, you should probably be one of those three. But otherwise, go range. You'll have a lot more fun. At least that's how it's been for me.
I would agree with that. It's that melee build right now is you're a little bit of a sitting duck trying to run down those other range characters.
Yes, you're a sitting duck is exactly the phrase. You're right. Speaking of which, Dragon Knights are kind of my favorite target right now, which is a funny thing to say.
That cuts me deep.
I mean, I was thinking about it. I was talking. I mean, look, what are my alternative targets? I mean, Wardens, no. Arcanists, no. Templars, super tanky, no thanks. Sorcerers now are some of the hardest people to kill, and Nightblade's not a super easy kill either if they're built well. DK's the sitting duck. They're the one that they're just kind of out there, like, they can't really run away. They're just,
It's tough. It hurts to see what the DK situation has become. It hurts.
Uncle Sam says it's Six's phrase. It's like storming the beaches of Normandy. Yeah, it is. It's like that. Just run out there. I've tried playing my DK a few times. I'm like, nope. Going back to my ranged, just ranged anything, please.
Give me back in those ranged.
Yeah. Or a Templar that I can cleanse stuff out. Or like I said, I was playing with a Necro, or not a Necro, an Arcanist there for a little while, and they're just immune to everything basically. So walk in the park if you're an Arcanist.
Yeah.
Let's see. Speaking of Arcanists, I have been playing a lot of Arcanists lately, and I've noticed against good players, man, they're really on top of bashing that beam. Like the second, like they predict when it's coming, and they just immediately bash and interrupt that thing. And it's frustrating. It's really good advice actually when you're going up against other Arcanists to really try to be on top of bashing that beam, because they don't want to cast that beam unless they have all 3 Crux. It doesn't do very much damage. So if you bash it and interrupt it, you just made them waste that Crux. They can't just start casting it again. They got to build that Crux back up. So it especially in pre-mades, if it's a big ult dump and it's really coming, here it comes. If you interrupt that beam, it totally screws them on that ult dump. They basically can't do it because they have to build that Crux back up before they can do the real damage again.
Another good reason for that shield throw bash.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. So let's keep an eye out for that. Another thing is, ever since that deathmatch weekend we had a few weeks ago, it seems like the spirit of deathmatch is kind of living on, man. Like the matches have been like have continued to be sweaty. I'll be in like a random relic match where everyone's just running to the middle and fighting. Just a lot more like actual PvP happening ever since that last deathmatch weekend. I feel like, I don't know, people just got like a taste of blood and they want more.
It ignited the spark.
Yeah, it really did. It's just the BGs have been fun lately. They really have been. We've been doing a lot of pre-mades, kind of the main thing we've been focusing on in this guild here lately. At least me and my kind of main friends that I play with is pre-mades, putting together a fully optimized, fully organized, serious pre-made that's trying to be competitive with the big boys. We're on our way there. I mean, we're not quite all the way, but man, we're making progress. It has been a journey. It's been super duper fun, man. Like it's a totally different experience. It's so much more enjoyable when you actually can be competitive. You can see those results. You see the success, and it just feels good. Super duper fun. So if you're on PCNA, every Friday is pre-made night. That's like the established. That's when we all squad up. We bring our best. We're gonna be on comms. We're gonna be really bringing it. That's every Friday night. So if you have some friends, if you're interested, group up, give it a shot. Come join the Stoons Goons, scrollingpodcast@gmail.com. We have lots of resources for helping you get started with like, how do you even theorycraft a pre-made squad? Like, what does a competitive squad even really look like? We've kind of been compiling a pretty good database of lots and lots of info and just lots of people that are willing to help you figure that stuff out.
That's the part that I was going to say. It's been fun to see the theory crafting really come alive in that of kind of figuring out the pre-mades and watching the group kind of come up with what would potentially work, what to try out, fitting this piece in. Well, that means a piece is going to get, taken out, and how are we going to make up for that? It's been cool to watch that group, you and that group kind of theorycraft through that.
Yeah, and it's neat through like experience, like learning what works and what doesn't work, and really have a whole new perspective. Like I'm really looking forward to the next BG report that we do, because I feel like I'm going to have a totally different take on like the group aspect of things. Like, for example, in the last BG report, I remember ranking Nightblades fairly low for group play. But it turns out, like, the more we've played, the more things we've tried, we're kind of finding Nightblade to be kind of indispensable. We kind of have to have a Nightblade in order to be successful. It's just interesting, once you start like looking at all the tools that all the different classes have and what we need in our team as a whole, not really what one individual class can do on their own, It's like you kind of have to have all these things in place, and they're all equally necessary to be successful. So it's easy to just say, yeah, Warden's the best. And they probably really are the best, but you also really need a Nightblade, and you also really kind of need an Arcanist. And It's been interesting. It's been really fun to learn those lessons. The reason for the Nightblade basically is because they have that really good AoE fear that's undodgeable, unblockable, has some really strong debuffs attached to it. And then they have that power extraction ability, which is another really strong AoE debuff that they can apply. And especially if you're doing like a Rush of Agony kind of comp, which I'm sad to say we have been here lately. But Nightblades just fit that just so perfectly. Their toolkit just fits it so very, very perfectly. So just really quick, the squad that we've been running, I think having the most success with, I won't give all the details of every little build or everything, but it's basically a Warden healer, an Arcanist Beamer with Azure Blight, a Dragon Knight also wearing Azure Blight, and a Rush of Agony Nightblade. That's the setup that's been working the best for us. And I think we have been talking. That's probably not the ideal squad really. Like, we haven't actually tried what we think is the ideal thing yet. But so far, man, that gets the results. It's a lot of damage, and that Arcanist beam just does so much heavy lifting. Just that thing alone, you get the Rush of Agony to pull everybody into one spot, and then they fear them and root them to keep them all there for a second, and you're just already blasting with that beam, so they're guaranteed at least taking a few ticks of that thing, and then the Azure Blight just starts going off, and it's nasty. It's very, very nasty.
That is nasty.
Yeah. I think I want that Tarnished Nightmare set to pair with Azure Blight, so that's popping off at the same time, and man, oh man, that's going to be really nasty. Right now I'm just using Deadly Strikes to amp up that beam, is the other 5-piece. But speaking of pre-mades, we've been talking, Davis, you had this idea, you hit me up about hey, what if we did a 1-bar only pre-made? What would that even look like? I don't think anyone's even really tried this before.
The 1-bar pre-made squad.
Yeah. As soon as you said it, I was like, yeah, of course, that's an awesome idea. What how do you even wrap your mind around that? Because it's a totally different approach to making a team. Because you already got all the buffs.
You already have them.
And so my initial kind of instinct was to be like, okay, well, we got to get all these buff sets in the group and all that stuff. But the more I started kind of messing with things and trying different things and looking at different options and stuff, I think that's maybe not so much the way to go, because you already have such great buff coverage just built in with Oakensoul.
Yep.
So, you need Rallying Cry, and I think Gossamer is such a valuable set for the healer to wear. Probably a Warden healer wearing Gossamer, I think is the way to go. You get that major evasion for the whole team. If everybody's a 1-bar build, they're not going to have room to give evasion to themselves. And a Warden with a ground hot, like Budding Seeds, that you're going to have a really, basically a permanent uptime on major evasion for everyone. So I think that's going to be really good. I think a second Warden that's basically like a support DPS that's wearing Rallying Cry would be really good. And they're basically like a backup. They're like 50% damage, 50% healing. And it's basically just whatever's needed. I would imagine they're essentially mostly focused on healing until it's time for the big ult dump, and then it's use the onslaught. I think the onslaught ultimate is the best way to go because you get all that penetration. Really, no matter what your stats are like, you're gonna be able to do good damage with that.
Yep.
Because you're going to want to build really high sustain on that build because running rapid maneuver is going to be that dude's main job. Giving major expedition and minor expedition to the full team for 8 seconds at a time. If you could keep that 100% active, that'd be pretty incredible, but it costs over 6,000 stamina.
Ooh. It's a lot of stamina. It's a lot of stamina.
So you'd probably want to do a recovery mundus and all 3 recovery glyphs on the jewelry. Just, get like 3,000 stamina recovery, not even exaggerating, like that much. And you're basically like a second support, just a different kind of support. You're supplying the utility. You're basically freeing up 3 bar slots among the group. They don't have to find a source of major expedition. You're giving that to everyone permanently, and minor expedition. Super valuable. Then you get your sub-assaults applying the major breaches. You're spamming polar winds to help out with healing. The Master's two-hander with the carve that does more damage the more people you hit with it. That would be awesome.
Yep.
And then you have 2 identical Arcanists with Azure Blight and beams.
Just the beam and the Azure Blight, as much as
beam
possible.
And Azure Blight and Tarnished Nightmare, maybe a Plague Break, or just 2 Tarnished Nightmares, just 2 exactly identical Arcanists just blasting everything in their path.
Well,
I think that's what you want.
Yeah, and I really, when I first came up with this idea, it was kind of like, would this possibly work? And then I got to give you major credit because you really went to the theorycraft of you've made me believe that this can legit work now. Like, there's not only is it just fun now, but I think it would actually be effective.
Yeah, I legitimately believe this will be a strong team comp. I mean, we haven't put it to the test yet. We literally, I've been theorycrafting this today. This is what I've been doing all day at work instead of working.
Of course.
As you do,
Sure, yeah, as you do. But
I mean, surely it's going to be awesome. There's no way it's not going to be awesome.
It seems like it's going to be really, really good. And the mentality of the squad being kind of, it's defense staying alive and then kind of all in on those specific targeted strikes of, all right, here's that moment for the squad to go all offense, do the targeted specific strike and then go back to defense. And I think it would be, I agree with you. I think this could be really, really effective.
Yeah. On a 1-bar squad, you're not going to have the bar space to stack a ton of dots. So like a pure pressure comp is going to be hard to pull off. So initially I was thinking you probably just want to go full burst, just completely turtle up, completely play defensive, don't even try to do damage until it's time for the big ult dump. And then you line all that up and that's your time to kill somebody. But I kind of started thinking I was playing a lot with Arcanist. I was like, man, just this beam all by itself does so much damage. Yeah, and the Azure Blight. You could maybe actually just do that, and not be so reliant on just doing those ult dumps. You could actually try to pressure people and try to get some kills without an ultimate. So that's why I went that direction. 2 Wardens, 2 Arcanists. That way we don't just have to wait until we have the 500 Baylorg ultimate and otherwise turtle up. Because otherwise, I think that's the 2 options. You either do that or you do what we're talking about here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be really fun. I think that we're going to, I think the plan is to test it out. We're going to do a test this week, see how it goes, see what we learn.
Well, it'll definitely be some learning. I'm most excited about that second Warden position. I think that's going to be a really fun one. I think you're thinking about doing that at least this week, right?
Yep. That's well, and that's kind of where I'm at, is that with this, with this idea of this 1-bar pre-made of, what does this look like? I've really, I feel like the past 3, 4, 5 episode, I'm talking about all these sets that I'm farming, I want to farm this build idea. I want to farm this build idea. And I just don't do enough PvE. And when I'm on, I usually am like, well, maybe I'll do some PvP. And so I usually get 1 or 2 dungeon runs in, and then I'm usually doing some BGs, and then then I got to hop off. But I've kind of strategized how I'm farming. Instead of kind of farming for these specific builds, I'm kind of just going across the board and identifying sets. clearly every single character I have is Oaken Soul. Like I'm 1 bar builds across the board. And so it, when every build that I have is Oaken Soul, you kind of have a pretty good idea of plug and play, try this set out on the build, try this set out. And so I'm actually kind of going across the board and identifying specific sets that I just want to have in the bank and at the ready, so that the more we go through this, the more we can just be like, okay, let me try slotting this on and see how that fits. And so I've kind of switched from, instead of farming specific builds, I've kind of switched to, let me identify some of these sets and I'm just going to farm to get a set of that ready, where it's not necessarily for a specific build, but I'm much more adaptable to kind of a plug and play for whatever could be potentially needed.
That's a really great thing. I've basically been doing the same thing, and it's weird since we've been doing all this grouping up and stuff. Like, I don't really feel like I have specific builds anymore. It's like every time I log on with the tune, it's like, who am I playing with? Okay, I need this set, I need these skills. Like, everything's just so amorphous and different every single time. It's like, what's your Arcanist build? It's like, well, who am I playing with? It's like, my solo builds are still very much like a certain way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a very different kind of mentality of like, I'm not really logging in with a build. I'm logging in with a character, and then I have like a collection of a whole bunch of sets that I can just flex in and out depending on what else is in the group.
And that's really where
a good way to go.
Yeah, that's really where I found myself, is that usually when you hop in a duo, or it turns into a 4-man, and it's kind of like, all right, we need these certain things. And if you don't have those sets, or don't have like a kind of a set ready, it's kind of like, all right, well, I've just found myself being like, all right, it's time to start having some of these kind of sets at the ready to help out in those situations.
Always have a set of Rallying Cry ready to go. Phoenix Moth is not a bad one, because oftentimes someone in the group will already have Rallying Cry. So Phoenix Moth is a good kind of backup to that. Powerful Assault. It's not an amazing set, but it's something to help the whole group out. Gossamer is a really great support set. Olorima, Spell Power Cure. As far as damage goes, Azure Blight, definitely have a set of Azure Blight somewhere in the inventory. Tarnished Nightmare, Plague Break can be really good. Savara Scales, Oblivion's Foe is crafted, very, very good set on the right build. Yeah, there's a few. Just collect them, just have them, and
just have them to plug and play. They're good to have.
So, but anyway, I was saying though, that kind of like DPS support Warden role, I think could be really, really fun. And that I think of that kind of like as being the team captain. You're going to be up front. You're going to be like kind of leading the charge, and the one that's sort of assessing, do I need to be healing right now? Do I need to be trying to kill something right now? Keeping those rapids active for everybody. Just kind of managing the situation. I think that'll be a really fun role to play.
We'll see how it goes. I could just totally mess it up, but we're gonna have fun. It's the 1-bar pre-med. We're gonna have fun no matter what.
Yeah, I feel like it's right up your alley. It's a support brawler. Through and through, really.
That's my favorite way to play right there.
So speaking of which, you've been working on a Warden build here lately, right?
Yeah. So I thought it was time. We've heard enough of the legend of Uncle Sam's Icy Claws, his Warden build. We've seen it in the battlegrounds. We've seen the numbers, and so I thought it was time. Once these builds get immortalized, it's time to come up with a 1-bar version for us lesser 1-bar players.
we have a 1-bar Sam Sork.
Yep. We got a 1-bar Betsy.
Got a 1-bar Betsy. Now it's time for a 1-bar Icy Claws.
1-bar Icy Claws. And so that is the build that I've been putting together. And I have to say this is the most important part. This is Uncle Sam approved. I've talked with him about this. He's looked through this. He's added in the specifics. This is an Uncle Sam approved.
Here, official Scrolling Podcast. Uncle Sam approved.
Uncle Sam approved.
Soul build.
1-bar Icy Claws. So what the build is
we're not even going to charge you the 500k gold.
Yeah, exactly. So the build is obviously the Oaken Soul, 5-piece Ice Furnace, 2-piece Zols, the Maelstrom Ice Staff, 1 trainee, 1 druid, and then what your bar setup is you want to have Wall of Frost and Deep Fissure, And then you're going to have Deceptive Predator, Polar Wind, and Leeching Vines. And then your ult's going to be that Healing Thicket. And so it's kind of that, still that exact same setup of it is a very keep the pressure up. That Ice Furnace, the Deep Fissure is going to keep the pressure up, but you still have all, healing abilities at your disposal to keep your heals up as well. So it's very much that hybrid heal pressure build still. Zols is, fantastic. Always good to have on a healer setup. And so, yeah, I think it could be, I'm still putting together the final pieces to really get this thing in and test it, but I'm really excited to have this build. Like I was kind of just saying, I'm farming sets more so than builds, but one of those sets that I've been farming is just nice to have an Ice Furnace set. And so Ice Furnace is the final piece I really just needed for this build. So I'm going to have an Ice Furnace set anyways. But I think
that's like the best duos night build you can have. I think like that kind of build right there is a really great one for just like pairing up with anybody. Doesn't matter who, it's going to be awesome.
And exactly what you said. That's one of the reasons I'm most excited for this build is that if I'm pairing up to duos or if I need to, if it's just kind of a casual BG night or heck, even if there's just, if I'm some sort of, last minute fill in for a group build and it's just kind of like, we just need people. We're not really trying to hit something that's strategy. Good. Yeah. This is probably going to be my go-to build for that. Cause it's just a good plug and play. It can help with pressure damage and then it can be good support for the team.
It'll be a easy, keep everyone in that wall of frost and keep the deep fissures going, it's kind of, and otherwise just heal. And it's a lot of damage. That Maelstrom Frost Staff is a ton of damage. And then the Ice Furnace just, going off because of that thing. Your damage numbers are going to look pretty darn good, I think.
Yep, absolutely. Sam approved. That's the biggest part. Sam approved, so it's going to be good.
I hope we hear about it again next time. See, we hear about some testing.
There we go. That's the goal. I need one piece. You know my RNG. I've run that dungeon probably 15 times now. I need the chest piece. The chest piece for Ice Furnace is the last piece I need, but it is eluding me so far.
Yeah, you'll have to do the maximum number of runs.
Yeah, whatever it is, that's where I'll be at.
I got a few builds to talk about. First one is Bobby Bobango. He is my stamina necromancer. Robert Bobango, as his father is known.
Exactly.
I've kind of reinvented this guy. He's similar to how he's been, but different. He actually was a 1-bar bow build for a long time, it was a really fun build. But I've upgraded him. I've modernized him. He's back to 2 bars, and he's pretty darn mean right now. So the build that I'm using, it's a full ranged build. It's a ranged Stamcrow. It's a Venomous Smite as a double bar set, Savara's Scales as a front bar set with a Flame Staff. Yes, he's a stamina build, but it's a Flame Staff. Master Bow on the back bar, Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm, and One Piece Magma. So I really love this setup. Venomous Smite and Savara's Scales are both AoE poison dots. So I really like that, and Blast Bones is AoE also. So I like that because it's like a single target setup. I'm picking out a target and focusing them, but I'm also at the same time applying a lot of pressure to their group also. So I kind of like that. If I'm in a 1v1 fight, I'm doing a lot of damage. They're even in like 1v1s against decent Dragon Knights. My little bow build here, or my little bow and staff build here is, giving them a challenge. But then also in group fights, I have a lot to offer there as well, and it's a lot of group pressure at the same time. So he's very flexible like that. Some alternatives if you're just looking for like a easy way to throw this build together, because Venomous and Savara's, you can just buy those both. They're both pretty cheap. So you can just throw like a Defending Potentate's bow on the back bar instead of a Master Bow. That'd be just fine. And I think Bloodspawn or especially Mighty Chudan as a monster set would be a really good option. And then you could drop your armor buff and put like Shuffle in its place, get that snare removal, that major evasion.
Throw in
neither of which are in the build right now.
That one's been on the shelf for a while.
Chudan is a great option. I like Sithis too much to give that up. But if you don't have access to Sithis or you don't want to grind it out, I think Mighty Chudan is probably the very best option. next to that, because that gives you the ability to slot shuffle in place of your armor buff, which is really nice. Combo is really simple. You put Venom Arrow on them to activate your Master Bow and to give you your spell damage buff. You put Ellie Sus on them, summon a Blast Bones, and just spam Venom Skull until Blast Bones lands, then summon another Blast Bones, and just keep repeating that. So you're basically just putting 2 dots on them, and then Blast Bones and Venom Skull. Super duper easy. I also have Flame Clench for a stun. And I try to use that frequently, but randomly. You don't want to use it at the exact same part of your combo every time because they'll just block it and you won't be able to stun them. So try to be kind of random with it, but do use it a lot because you want to work that stamina bar down and all that stuff. So very easy offense, but with those dots and all the dots from the proc sets and all that stuff, the Fire Staff giving all those dots 12% extra damage. It's a lot of pressure. It's a whole lot of pressure. And you have that range. If someone starts getting close, you can use that major expedition that you get from the bow, do a roll dodge, get far away, and just keep attacking them from far away. Works well. The defensive toolkit, it's just Resolving Vigor, Resistant Flesh, the Spirit Guardian, and the Barrier Ultimate. Really simple. And yeah, like I said earlier, with Scribing, I'll probably be getting rid of Elisus and Flame Clench, and making an ability that basically does both of those things and opening a bar slot. So this is the best Necro build I've been able to come up with. I found that just putting a bow on the back bar of a Necromancer kind of fixes a lot of their problems because the bow is such a complete skill line. Like Necro doesn't have their own source of major sorcery, major brutality. You get that with Venom Arrow. Necromancers don't really have good crowd control. Bow has 2 great crowd control abilities. Necromancers get buffs to dots, but they don't have any good dots in their class. There are 2 good dots in the bow skill line. Necromancer doesn't have major expedition. You get that with the bow without having to use a bar slot. It's just you kind of all the stuff that they're missing. You get that with the bow. So that's a good way to just kind of fix them.
Yeah, that's nice.
While we're waiting for Scribing. So anyway, that's Bobby Bobango. All right, so I have 2 Orc Stamina Templar. You need minimum 2 Orc Stamina Templars on your roster.
Not 1, but 2.
You need at least 2, possibly more. So first one I'm going to talk about is there's a reason I'm talking about them both. We'll get there. First one is Butch Mahoney. He's quite the looker, quite the ladies' man. This guy.
He is. He's a looker.
He's a looker. And basically my idea was I wanted to make a pure damage version of Old Betsy. I kind of want to take her basic idea of her setup, but sacrifice some sustain, sacrifice some support, and let's just go full throttle damage and see what that looks like. So I tried a bunch of stuff, did a lot of testing. Where I ended up with is Order's Wrath as a double bar set, Deadly Strikes on the front bar with a lightning staff, Black Rose Prison dual wield on the back bar, Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm, and One Piece Magma. So pretty similar to Betsy. We just basically got rid of Wretched Vitality and put Order's Wrath in its place and just got rid of a bunch of sustain and pumped it into damage. That's basically what we did there. The combo, you just keep the buffs active. You put Reflective Light and Elisus on your target, Toppling Charge, and Jabs. And you got your Crescent Sweep Ultimate. Just use that, basically whenever you got it. And beam them when they're low. Super duper easy. The damage is really good, works really well. And you definitely do want to use Reflective Light for your crit buff, not Camo Hunter, because that gives you your crit buff on both bars. Since you're using Order's Wrath, you're getting all that extra crit and crit damage and crit healing. So you want to definitely be taking advantage of that on your back bar. So if you're using Camo Hunter for your crit buff, it's you're kind of like really not capitalizing on that. So anyway, I played with this build for a few days. I was testing a bunch of stuff, trying a bunch of stuff, getting it really dialed in, really got it to a place that I'm happy with. Like, yeah, man, this build is rocking, cooking. Love it. Let's log in with Old Betsy and just do a side-by-side comparison. Old Betsy, with her classic setup, Deadly Strikes as a double bar set, Wretched Vitality on the back bar with a bow, Black Rose dual wield on the front bar, Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm, One Piece Magma. And Better than Butch in every way. Better than Butch's build in every way, including damage.
No.
Including damage.
Oh, poor Butch. Poor Butch.
And I was talking to Sam about it, and he's like, yeah, maybe you just found the perfect Templar build already, and that's just as good as it can get. And it's like, I replaced Wretched Vitality with Order's Wrath, a damage set, and I'm doing less damage. How can this be? And it's because I have to make so many sacrifices to get my sustain back and to actually be a functional build that I'm really not coming out ahead damage-wise, but I still don't have the same sustain that I normally have with Betsy, so it's like, what's even the point? If I could have all this great sustain from Wretched plus 7,000 spell damage, and the tooltips are higher, the damage output's higher, the healing's better, it's just better in every way. So forget the Butch build that I just talked about. Just delete that from your brain.
He's back on the shelf. Put him back up on the
Probably just going to turn him back into a range player, which is what he was for a long time, and that was a great build. It's nice to have that. It's like, do I want to play a ranged Templar or a melee Templar? And
yeah,
that's probably how it should be. But yeah, the Deadly with Wretched, and really Deadly could be any offensive set. I was doing Plague Break for a while, really fun too. But yeah, Black Rose Dual Wield on the front bar, Gaze of Sithis, Mythic Helm, One Piece Magma. That's the way to go. And she's going to be even better with Scribing. I'm going to get rid of Solar Barrage and replace it with a Scribing skill that applies that Major Breach plus a Snare plus another dot. So I'm not even giving up the damage or anything. It's going to be really good.
Old Betsy.
Old Betsy. Those are my builds. Scrollingpodcast@gmail.com is our email address. And you should send emails there, and we'll read them here on the podcast.
It's true. I've seen it happen.
Every 2 weeks, we do it right here. And like I said last time, we're not doing the prize anymore for reasons. Okay, there are reasons, but we do love getting the emails, and I'm glad to see that they're still coming in. Good deal.
Still got some emails.
You guys aren't just greedy bunch of money grubbing little. Anyway, I don't know where that came from. First email comes from Grizzly Khan. Shout out to Grizzly Khan.
Shout out Grizzly Khan.
He says this topic of discussion was originally brought up in episode 62. Better late than never. Did we never read it back then, Grizzly?
Oh no.
Question is, Later King. Question is, what are the most hated sets of all time? Dark Convergence, Hrothgar's Chill, and Plague Break seem obvious contenders. More recently, Master's Dual Wield and Vadishran Ice Staff are pretty loathed. He also says Crimson Twilight was pretty unfun to play against, so was Malakath on release. I disagree. I liked Malakath on release. Killerian's Legacy ganking was frustrating. And then also a throwback to Slowed Semblance from 2018, a Somerset crafted set. As originally released, the 5-piece damaging an enemy has a 10% chance to put a Leeching Shadow on them, dealing 853 Oblivion damage every 1 second for 6 seconds with a 6-second cooldown. Yeah, I remember that. I actually wasn't super into PvP at the time, but I do remember all the PvPers super duper complaining about that set, saying it was super OP. 853 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you consider its Oblivion damage, they are definitely taking 853 damage every single time, without exception. So, yeah, it's nowhere near that strong now. I don't know what the numbers are now, but no one really uses it. Although I have heard some people say it actually is still pretty good on the right build. I could see if you really build into Oblivion damage, especially with this Scribing stuff coming up, maybe it'll make a comeback. But Uncle Sam has the answer. It is Rush of Agony. 100%. Is the only answer.
Yes, Rush of Agony, number one, most hated. Still number one.
Still
Reigning
the most
champion.
hated set. Yeah, it still has not. They're kind of nerfing, kind of buffing it next patch. They're increasing the range, but giving it a little bit of a kind of a delay. So we'll see how it works out. Yeah. But yeah, that's the one.
It's the worst.
Rush is the worst one. Also pretty sick of Sheer Venom on all the 1-bar Nightblade, just spamming you with that all the time. That's pretty annoying. And Tarnished Nightmare. I don't necessarily hate it, but it's it's on my radar.
It's working its
definitely
way
on
up
my
there.
radar.
It's working its way up there.
It is.
It's working its way up the list.
If it doesn't get nerfed at some point, I mean, it's good to have strong, like overpowered sets once in a while. It kind of makes things fun, but it definitely needs to be toned down a bit in the future at some point.
Yeah, I remember Hrothgar's Chill on release. That thing was a mess.
That was terrible. That was just a bad idea. Like, I'm getting punished for my teammate being tanky. Like nothing I can do about it.
Yes.
Hated that.
One that always has bothered me, and I don't know why. Maybe it was just at the time, but it just bothered me because it was so incredibly, like, if you want to do PvP, you had to, at the time, it was like, you have to have this set. And it was New Moon Acolyte in its heyday.
Yeah, it was everywhere.
Like, it's like New Moon Acolyte and what else? Like, that was the set. It was like, you've got that and something else. And I always hated that set for that because I was just like, man, it's such a boring set. And it's just a requirement. It was a requirement for PvP in its heyday.
I feel like if that set came out today, we would like it. I feel like we were just kind of tired of hearing about it at the time.
I could 100% see that happening. It was just, I was so tired of hearing about New Moon Acolyte.
Well, yeah, because every build was just New Moon Acolyte and either Balorg or Bloodspawn, spamming Dizzy Swing, and I think we were just tired of everything being so samey. But really, those type of metas I like, where it's direct burst damage is the way to kill somebody. And
well, and it's it's kind of a stat based set, so it's like we usually tend to like those. It is. Yeah, it doesn't fit the mold, but man, I was sick of that set back in the day.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you. I think anything that's just on every build, we're like, okay, let's try something different. But then here I am with Wretched on every build.
Wretched's the most. You can't put it on the. It's the most.
Most beloved. What's the most beloved set? Let's have another version of this question. The most beloved sets in the game. Wretched Vitality.
Wretched Vitality would be on that list.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm throwing old, Cold Harbor's Favorite up there. Gotta be on there.
Cold Harbor's Favorite on there. What were the most beloved sets? Rally. I mean, beloved ability. Beam, maybe. Uncle Sam is asking most beloved ability. The Templar beam.
I think I hope he's being sarcastic. He's speaking that just for himself.
He definitely loves.
He loves the beam. There it is.
The beam.
There it is. I was waiting for it.
He renamed his character because of how much he loves the beam. The character's name is now Railgun.
Share your whispers, Sam, and tell us that that's the most beloved ability.
Beloved ability, streak, cloak.
I don't know. I like Quick Cloak. That may be one of my most beloved abilities.
Ooh, that's a good one. It's a good one. Race Against Time. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Nightblade's Phantasmal Escape. Does like 100 things. It's a great ability.
Extended Ritual. You got to throw that one up there. That's a fantastic one.
That's a pretty good one. Old Jabs. Before they ruined it. Remember old Jabs? Man.
It's going to be episode 226, and you're gonna bring up. You remember how great Jabs used to be.
Remember old Jabs, man.
Old Jabs, and it's the animation and the 4-hit. I think you're just as mad about the animation as you are about the ability nerf.
Oh, I could live with the nerf. The animation is like what makes it so bad. Yeah, remember literally no one liking it? Like 0% of players, like everyone hated it. Everyone asked Zoss to revert it. Please, God, revert it. And just silence, no response, nothing, no like acknowledgement. It's just, this is what Jabs is now. Bye.
New Jabs.
We're just like Templar manager just sitting here like, what have you done to my Jabs?
That was truly,
Why?
That was truly the birth. That was the birth of Beam is what that was. The birth of Beam.
Because, well, this is our good ability now.
Yep.
Although, I mean, we know now Templar actually is still a very good class. They have a lot to offer a team, and they're good in PvP, but I wish they were more like how they used to be, for sure. Everyone didn't like the animation, and now it's so beautiful. Yeah, Sam, that's it. That's for sure it. Thanks for writing, Grizz. Next email comes from Chumpy. Chumpy says, "Hey, I don't know, just hanging around, not much going on here. Okay, I'll tell you, I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, I'm sorry, and I'm addicted." All right, Chumpy, it's all right, man. So question this week is, if either of y'all have played it, if you had to choose riding only motorbikes forever or driving an 18-wheeler forever, is that related to Baldur's Gate 3? I'm confused.
I think there's two questions there. If we've played Baldur's Gate 3 and then the totally different realm question on the motorbikes 18. I think it's two questions in there.
Okay.
That's how I read that.
I have never played Baldur's Gate 3. Have you?
I have not. I've played Divinity 2, which I think is a very similar game. I think it's the same style game.
I love that. I have not, but I've played a different game.
I think they're very similar games. I don't think. Okay. I truly think. I don't think you would ever play it. It's a turn-based combat.
Nope. I'm out. I remember watching, because I remember a lot of people talking about it. I was like, okay, I might check this out. And I watched some videos and I noped right out when I saw some combat footage.
Yeah. And that, okay. So Grizz, thank you, Grizz. It's the same developers that made the game.
Okay.
And that's why I mentioned that, because I did really, really like Divinity. I liked the combat style and the mode of the game. Turn-based combat's it's not above me. I'm okay. I can handle that. I can handle me some strategy based.
No, I got too much ADD. I got to push the buttons and go fast.
I probably will eventually play Baldur's Gate 3. I will work my way to that game eventually.
I've heard it's a very good game. Yeah. Lots and lots of good things said about it. Nice. Okay, if you had to choose riding only motorbikes forever or 18-wheelers forever,
I'm going 18-wheeler. I'm doing it. And I'm not I'm not turning back. I'm not turning back. Yeah, I'm going 18-wheeler.
Now, do I just do whichever one we choose? Is somebody going to give me one of these, or do I have to still buy one?
Oh, I take it as it's got to be given, because an 18-wheeler, I don't know the price of those, but they got to be expensive. That's got to be a pricey cheap ride. Motorbikes, you find one of those on Facebook Marketplace for like $100.
Yeah. I'm going motorbike, low maintenance.
Mm-hmm. I guess that answer for you. I guess that we would be on opposite sides on this.
Yeah. Well, I first did think 18-wheeler because I was thinking, man, I could live in that thing. Mm-hmm. But, they're so big and obtrusive. You're going to be honking your way, trying to get down neighborhood streets to get into going to your aunt's house is going to be a giant pain, you get a little motorcycle, just tuck it away in a corner. No one even knows it's there. Easy.
This really sums up our ESO characters. The motorbike, the slim, the sleek, and then me over here in the 18-wheeler, just loud as can be everywhere I go.
Think how much working on that thing. If something breaks, it's going to be a giant pain to deal with. Like a little motorcycle, get some little Honda or something. Easy.
Yeah, you say that until you're not messing with me, 18-wheeler motorbike.
What, are we going to go head on crash each other?
You ain't. I can tell you that right now. There ain't no way. You want none of that. This thing, I'm driving around in a tank. And I don't. Who knows what I can do with the trailer? I'm assuming I've got a trailer. I've got all that space. Yeah. All that free space to utilize how I will.
That's probably more square footage than my house, literally.
You're going to be asking to use my trailer as a garage for your motorbike.
Yeah, I could you won't even know it's there. Just stick it in the corner,
There you
go. Don't hate me because you ain't me. Chum chum.
Chum chum.
Great email, right, Chumpy. Yeah, always, spawns very riveting conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Last one comes from Dr. Throat Punch. Not an actual email. He asked this in the Discord. He says, podcast question, why does Zos hate Necros? And why do you theorize was the Harmony, or who do you theorize was the Harmony bomber who hurt them? Yeah, I agree. We've talked all about Necros are hurting. It's not so bad if you put a bow on the back bar or even on the front bar. And they're going to benefit more than anybody from scribing.
I'm truly excited to see what Necros will look like after scribing. I think I think it's a real chance to bring them back into the fold of effectiveness. And I will say this, I'm going to let you kind of take it from here, but in this pre-made theory crafting, I've noticed as you guys are going through this in theory crafting, a necro often finds itself in the group.
Yeah, in groups, all their problems disappear. You know, they're kind of all irrelevant because all the things that they're lacking are already being provided by the group anyway. And when you look past the shortcomings of the class, one thing that they do have is a lot of damage, a lot of AoE damage. And, you know, despite everything, that still is true. And when you put them in a group and you coordinate with them and you work around that damage, you can really do some stuff. You know, you can really do some damage. And they have some debuffs, you know, basically permanent major and minor defile with blast bones is pretty darn valuable. So they have some good stuff going for them, especially in the right setting. I think I'm not really super plugged into the PvE world, but I think they're pretty good in PvE as well. So, you know, it's not like they're completely just unusable. I think really it's like solo PvP is the main thing. It's like it's just hard to put together a good build for that.
But we'll see. Scribing could be a game changer.
Yep. Well, like I said, like with my little build with a bow on the back bar, staff on the front bar, that's a solo build that's working pretty well for me. It can be done. You just gotta find the ways, and it's harder to find those ways than it is for other classes. But when you do, I mean, that build does a ton of damage, more than most of my builds. So. scrollingpodcast@gmail.com. That's our email address. Please send us emails.
Please.
Uncle Sam in the chat says, I saw a bowcrow wipe everyone in Stormhaven. Yeah, there was this like necromancer bow build dueling everyone in Stormhaven one day. Just I wasn't there to witness it, but apparently he was just beating everyone, like all the big shots down there. He was just wiping them up. So I mean, that's a necromancer with a bow.
There you go.
Kind of proves my point there. Thanks, Sam. Put a bow in a necromancer. That's what you need.
Put a bow on your necromancer.
We have a guild. The guild's name is Stoon's Goons. I have to do this all from memory. I didn't write my little notes here.
This is going to be a good test.
Let's see. What is it? It's literally the best PvP guild in the game. It also just so happens to be the best named guild on the PC NA, Xbox NA, and PlayStation NA servers. We're on all three.
Mm-hmm. Cross-platform.
Also the official guild of the Scrollin' Podcast. If you'd like to join, send us an email at scrollinpodcast@gmail.com and we'll send you an invite. It doesn't have to be a special email. Just ask for an invite and we'll send you one. If your guild roster is full or if you're on a different platform, that's okay. You can just come join the Discord. Everyone who's on the Discord is a fully fledged goon. You're one of us. scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. Come hang out with us.
I think you nailed it. I think that was... It's like you've done that a time or two. I think it was
pretty good.
It was fantastic.
I've done it. It seems like I've done it
126 times if I had to guess. That's true.
We didn't start doing the guild.
Yeah, back in the day, your guild talk has come a long ways. Let me tell you. I mean, there was times I had to jump in to defend the guild. You were out to get it, if you will.
Pretty sure I literally just said,
I don't even know where we have it. I don't know why it exists. Oh boy.
It's like, listen, guys, you only get 5 slots.
At one point, our guild was just a little flame on a match that was almost burned out. Just had to keep.
We're actually growing quite a bit. Another fairly large PvP guild kind of shut down recently, and we're getting a lot of their kind of exports there. So that's cool. If you would like to support the show, one easy thing you can do is you can go to Apple Podcasts, open up the Apple Podcast app and give us a star rating, and especially a written review. That just makes it easier for people to find our show when they search for related keywords. If you want to go a step further than that, you can go to patreon.com/scrollinpodcast and sign up to receive Stoon's Boon for $3 a month. Gives you access to a few different things, including the Booncast, which is a shorter solo podcast that I do on the off weeks. So you get a little something every week. What else? Oh, if you're a member of the guild in game, you can drop stuff into the guild bank, crafting mats, potions, gold, anything you like. That stuff seriously helps a lot. And the very best thing that anybody can do is just come join the Discord, be a part of the community, hang out with us, be our friend, play ESO with us. Pretty much everything we talk about here on the show originates as conversations that we're having with people on the Discord. If there was no community, there would be no show. So that's the most helpful thing anyone can do. scrollingpodcast@gmail.com to get that invite. Shout out to the chat. We have Grizzly Khan, of course, Uncle Sam, King Nar, FK was in here earlier. Thank you all for being here. Good to see you all. Extra shout out to Uncle Sam, King Nar, Sir Newbie, Maddie Quinn, 60, Sudica, a bunch of others. We've all just been playing a lot, especially the pre-made squad. Super fun. Shout out to the El Ragoons, the OGs, our friends. Thank you for being around for so long. Really great to have you around. And shout out to our Patreon supporters, our Stoons, Boon recipients, Pork Body, Toadster, Gummy Bear, Grizzly Khan, Thomas, Taggart, Mother of Dragons, Sudica, Jim, Maxwell, Derpenstuff, Dudagon, Brewerman, Brock, Redhead Monster, Chumpy, John E. Danger, and Odin. Thank you all very, very much. Davius, anything else?
I think that sums up 126.
That's episode 126. Thank you all very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.